Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. We have a great show for you today. First, more secrecy in the Bryan Kohberger matter. Donald Trump is found in contempt for the 10th time, and a little irony for a legislator who's now being sued under the law that he helped pass. And all those years of living right paid off for this pastor. Another foiled for hire murder scheme that's failed. That's right, they never work. One way to get rid of a bill or to ensure your retirement plan, let me explain. Who doesn't love a good love triangle, especially when one of the three winds up dead? And our dumb criminal of the day. Let's talk about it.
All right, lawyer.
Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. You know the drill by now. Subscribe if you haven't, like if you do, leave me a comment below, and hit that little bell for notifications. And remember, you can always listen to us anytime on any of your favorite podcasting apps. All right, before we get started with today's show, a couple of quick updates. There will not be a live tomorrow night. That's right. Frank, the hardest working man in show business, the producer, the man behind the camera. It's his birthday, so big shout out to Frank. But his wife would like to have a party for him or something, I guess. I don't know. So we're going to make accommodations for that. So just don't be sitting by your computers waiting for Crime Talk to begin tomorrow night. All right? We will make it up to you. Now, we also missed Friday. I was traveling. Where did you go, Scott? Well, we went to the Woodstock for Capitalists. That's right, the Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting. Remember, Charlie Munger passed away right around the first of the year. And who knows how much longer Warren Buffett will be there with us. But the reality of it is it was very interesting, always interesting to see such a rowdy crowd. I can't imagine why Omaha would want this crowd coming in there. A bunch of older people, pay their bills on time, don't destroy property. Yeah, those are all the conventions that every convention and visitor bureau would desire. Also got to celebrate a birthday, a brother of the lovely Miss Kristen. It was a blast. We had a great time and look forward to it in 2 years because we already know next year there's going to be a wedding we have to go to. So in 2026, the place to be, Omaha or the Kentucky Derby. Oh, that's right. And I did pick the winner for the Kentucky Derby. 40-1 odds. All right. Let's go ahead and get to today's docket for May 6th, 2024. First on the docket, more secrecy in the Bryan Kohberger matter. So the court has issued some more orders, and I like to read the orders. Therefore, you just can't say, oh, that's open to interpretation, anything along those lines. So here's what's happening. The court has, for the reasons articulated in the record during the May 2nd, 2024 hearing, the court orders the hearing on the defendant's fourth and fifth motions to compel, which is now set for May 14th of 2024, be sealed to protect the parties' right to a fair trial. Now, during the hearing, it is anticipated that the parties will discuss specific items of discovery that may not be admissible at trial. The disclosure of such evidence to the public at this stage of the case is not appropriate and may prejudice the jury pool. Furthermore, the parties have stipulated that all attachments to the discovery requests and responses be filed under seal, pursuant to various rules and statutes, and because the documents contain facts or statements that might threaten or endanger the life or safety of individuals. It is necessary to preserve the right to a fair trial, and disclosure would constitute an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. So the hearing on May 14th, 2024 will deal directly with attachments to sealed discovery requests and responses, and if issues arise that should not be sealed and should be addressed at the public hearing, the court will hold a separate open hearing at future dates to ensure that the victims' families have prior notice to be present at any open hearing. Now, the hearing on May 14th, 2024 will not at any time be open to the public to ensure the victims' families are afforded every right under Article 1, Section 22 of the Idaho Constitution. Why such secrecy, ladies and gentlemen? I'm telling you, I've been doing this for 29 years. I cannot think of a single case, and I've handled some very high-profile cases in my career where the media was there, a lot of media attention. Not once did anyone think of closing the proceedings. I understand some people read the Sixth Amendment as a right to an open public trial, only mean the trial. And there's some case law that would indicate as such, and certainly in Idaho they've come up with this rule that, if we can close the case for any reason whatsoever, let's go ahead and seal it. We saw the Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow pretrial matters were all basically done in secrecy. And I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like it before in my life. I cannot imagine where we would go in behind chambers or kick everybody out of the courtroom and conduct a motions hearings. And motions hearings are to determine what evidence is going to come in at trial. So here the judge is saying, well, there may be evidence that may not be admissible at trial, so therefore we don't want the public to know. That's the whole purpose of motions hearings, ladies and gentlemen, to determine legally if various evidence will come in or will be prohibited. So what does it matter if the public knows about it? The jury pool, we've seen it in every case. The Chad Daybell trial there in Idaho going on right now. People are aware of the case, but they're willing to disregard what they've heard and follow the instructions. That is what matters, not what is admissible or inadmissible. I get it, Idaho. It's your state. You can do what you want. I've practiced in Colorado. I've practiced in federal military courts. I've practiced in federal courts in South Carolina, North Carolina, Wyoming, South Dakota, Oklahoma, New Mexico, if I didn't mention that one. Never once we have a secret hearing. And we're talking about some serious stuff that was embarrassing to people. And no one thought that they should go into chambers. So hopefully Idaho gets around to maybe possibly changing their rules. The only time I've ever seen a closed hearing is if for some reason in a case involving a minor, usually like terminating a parental rights, so they kick everybody out of the hearing. But that's a civil matter. That's not a criminal matter. Unbelievable to me. But the court also issued some other orders, and since the government got burned last time they had a hearing, as you may recall, there was a whole issue as it relates to whether the experts for the defense should be allowed to continue their survey. The prosecution was completely unprepared, but the judge said, let's have a hearing. The defense showed up with their expert and said, let's go. And like I said, the prosecution looked terrible, completely unprepared. And if anybody watched that entire video, there's only one way that you conclude is that they were totally unprepared. And ultimately, the defense won that particular issue. So this time, the prosecution asked for, and the judge has ordered, that obviously the case has been set for hearing. And since the prosecution was unprepared, the court has said that based upon the May 2nd, 2024 hearing, the court orders any of the following. Any witnesses, including experts, expert reports, if any, summaries of what each witness is expected to testify to, and exhibits the defense intends to present at the May 14th, 2024 hearing or the May 16th, 2024 hearing on the defendant's fourth and fifth motion to compel must be disclosed to the state and filed with the court no later than May 7th of 2024. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's because the prosecution got slapped around and looked silly the last time. So the prosecution said, we want everything beforehand. And I get it. That's basically the way the rules are set up. But so often, what has now become, everything's turned into civil litigation in criminal law. Criminal law used to be, man, let's go to trial. Let's have a motions hearing. Let's do it. Hey, you got my guy's report? Let's go. Boom. Now everybody wants everything beforehand. It used to be just go out there and let's have a hearing. And sometimes you did great, sometimes you didn't. But everything these days is turned into a civil case where everybody wants everything and everybody wants to take a deposition. And blah, blah, blah. It's just getting ridiculous. Just go try it. Go do what trial attorneys are supposed to do and go to court, think on your feet, and be prepared for anything. That's what attorneys get paid to do. Next on the docket, Donald Trump. Held in contempt yet again. So Judge Juan Merchan has once again found Donald Trump in contempt for violating a gag order during the Stormy Daniels trial. And now a new fine and threatening him with jail. That's threatening the president, former president, if he violations continue. Now, Judge Merchan blasted Trump for continued and willful violations of the gag order, barring comments on witnesses and others that he said might threaten the fair administration of justice. The judge said, "I cannot allow that to continue as such, and I don't want to impose a jail sanction. I will, if necessary and appropriate," he said at the start of the trial today. Now, like I said, the judge slapped Trump with a $1,000 fine for the violation, which comes in addition to additional findings following an earlier hearing that resulted in a fine totaling $9,000. Now, it appears the $1,000 fines are not serving as a deterrent. Therefore, going forward, the court will have to consider jail sanctions. And I'm sure the former president is saying, "Bring it on, Judge. Bring it on." Anyway, the judge said repeated comments constitute a direct attack on the process and would not be allowed to continue. So the judge continued that Mr. Trump is hereby put on notice that, if appropriate and warranted, future violations of its lawful order will be punishable by incarceration. Now, apparently, Trump began his morning speak to the press and then got his lecture from the judge. But the judge also ruled that 3 earlier public statements raised by the prosecutors didn't meet the threshold of beyond a reasonable doubt and therefore were denied. Now, it didn't stop the former president from complaining about the gag order that the judge imposed and said that the judge is conflicted, and the judge is totally in conflict, is totally conflicted, and you ought to take a look at it, Trump told reporters. He was referencing his own repeated attacks on the judge due to his daughter's work for an online advocacy firm with top Democrat clients. The former president said, "And I'm not supposed to be talking about it," Trump said with his lawyer by his side, "but I'm allowed to say that the judge has a conflict like nobody has ever had before. You got to take a look at it," he said. "He's taken away my constitutional right to speak," the former president noted, which is interesting. I know there's been challenges to this. I'm not a big fan. Free speech, man. Free speech. I'm a free speech advocate because then we get to find out who the crazies are, okay? We get to find out who the extremists are on all sides. So let them speak. If there's true conflict, okay, great. But the jury's going to make their decision based upon what is presented in the courtroom. Now, obviously, it's not a very favorable jurisdiction. If you look at voter rolls for the former president there in Manhattan, and so maybe that's his avenue to even things up. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, if there's a conviction, there will be an appeal, and more than likely there will be some appeal as it relates to these contempt matters, particularly if there is, in fact, a sentence to jail for being held in contempt. So we'll just have to wait and see. Every day's a circus. I just wish the circus were televised so that we could see all 3 rings going on. Now, there was a little event last week that I was watching as I was perusing for ideas for the show. But remember Hope Hicks? She was a former aide for President Trump in the early part of his presidency. She ultimately left pretty shortly thereafter once there was all kinds of investigations or whatever. She was very close to the president as a personal assistant and advisor. Well, there's some people, and I would tend to agree, that Miss Hicks destroyed the case for the prosecutors last week. Now, Alvin Bragg, he's a district attorney, called the former president's assistant, and it backfired big time. Now, as you know, Trump was indicted back in 2023 on these charges for allegedly falsifying business records related to this alleged hush money payment made to the adult film star Stormy Daniels during the campaign. Now, Daniels alleges that she had an affair with Trump back in 2006, which he's denied. Trump has pled not guilty to all charges and said the case against him is politically motivated. So on Friday, Hope Hicks, who served as a senior White House advisor during the administration, took the stand to testify, which saw her even crying at one point as she recalls the accusations that are at the issue of this trial. Most notably, she testified to that Trump's reaction when a story detailing his alleged affairs with Daniels and a former Playboy model, a woman by the name of Karen McDougal, broke. Hope Hicks stated, "I don't think he wanted anyone in his family to be hurt or embarrassed by what's happening on the campaign. He wanted them to be proud of him." She also said that the allegations from McDougal and Daniels were absolutely very personal to Mr. Trump. So while on the witness stand, Hicks explained that she doesn't have a current professional relationship with the former president. She added that they have not communicated since the summer or fall of 2022 and said he was a good multitasker and really hard worker. Now, Hicks' testimony, which she said Trump was concerned about how his wife, the former First Lady, Melania Trump, would react after details about this alleged affair with Daniels and McDougal, appeared in the Wall Street Journal weeks before the 2016 election, which kind of blows up Bragg's argument that the former president paid Daniels for her silence. So the account by Hicks blows up Bragg's primary claim that Trump paid the porn star Stormy Daniels for her silence with the intent to benefit his campaign and thereby influence the election by alleged unlawful means. So it somewhat corroborates the findings of the federal investigation that determined that no crimes were committed or that no campaign finance laws were broken because there was another purpose for the non-disclosure agreement that Daniels signed. So, as you know, prosecutors have continued to suggest the hush money payment was part of the unlawful attempt to influence the outcome of the 2016 presidential race and not an effort to save Trump's marriage. So we'll have to see if the jury agrees with that analysis. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Now, one final twist, and then we'll move on from the former president. But as you may recall, the New York legislature passed what they call the Adult Survivors Act. And a lot of people argued that that was an attempt to punish Donald Trump, and that was to provide the avenue for Jean Carroll to go after Trump some 30 years later because she said that Trump had sexually assaulted her. Now, a jury found that he had civilly and imposed damages of several hundreds of millions of dollars, which is up on appeal. The act had a very limited time span, but it did allow alleged victims to file lawsuits against their accused attackers with a specific window, even if the state's statute of limitations had run out. So anyway, now one of the legislators, a guy by the name of Kevin Parker, who helped pass the Adult Survivors Act, ironically is being sued under the Adult Survivors Act. And now he says that the act is unconstitutional, the one that he voted for. So the accusation against Mr. Parker allegedly occurred just before the law expired, and it stems from an incident going back to 2004. So Parker even touted his support for the law in a statement in which he denied the allegations of sexual assault now being posed against him shortly after they were levied back in November. He stated, quote, "I voted in favor of the Adult Survivors Act to ensure that all New Yorkers can seek justice and be heard," Parker wrote, which was also passed by the Assembly, signed into law by the governor, Hochul, back in May of 2022 and expired in November of 2023. These allegations are absolutely untrue. My work and advocacy will continue. Now, the complaining witness in the lawsuit, a woman by the name of Olga Jean-Baptiste, alleges that when she was working with Parker on relief efforts in Haiti back in 2004, that Mr. Parker grabbed her by the wrists and then forcibly sexually assaulted her at her home. So this is one of those examples, ladies and gentlemen. We got another one coming up here as well. But be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you wish for when you start trying to do things that are to attack your opponents that you think is a good idea. A lot of people don't think these things through. They think, oh, maybe it could come back to me. Irony of it all. You got to admit, the irony of it all. Next on the docket. Okay, if you ever had a reason for living right, this is a good example because all those years of living right paid off for this church pastor in Pennsylvania. So church services in Pennsylvania were not looking pretty good, but they turned out to work out for the pastor as a gunman came in, pulled a gun in the middle of the sermon, and tried to shoot him. That's right. Bernard Polite of Braddock, Pennsylvania, was charged after he entered the church Sunday and attempted to shoot the pastor, a guy by the name of Glenn Germany, as he was delivering his weekly address at the Jesus Dwelling Place Church. Now, the attempted murder took place at just after 1 p.m. on Sunday and was captured on video and posted online for all to see the moment that it didn't happen. Thank goodness. The video shows the moment German finds himself staring down the barrel of a gun that is fired at him by the man trying to kill him. But guess what? It's a miracle. No bullets came out, and the shooter was then tackled by the church deacon, a guy by the name of Clarence McAllister, who can be seen leaping in front of the camera and tackling the man to the floor. Now, German, who was going live, credited God with being the one who stopped him and jamming the gun. Well, I'm not sure if it's God or maybe faulty maintenance. I don't know. But either way, there, Pastor, you are a lucky, lucky man. And all those years of living right paid off. Now, the man that obviously attempted to kill the pastor has been charged with aggravated assault and attempted homicide. He was denied bail and is set to appear on the charges next week and set the matter for a preliminary hearing. Obviously, people are concerned that the man has some mental health issues. You think? But guess what? Wait, there's more. Police are also investigating after they found that a man was shot to death inside a home where, guess who lived there? That's right, Mr. Polite resided about a half a mile from the church. And police say they found a man identified as Derek Polite shot to death. The relationship between the two Polites is not exactly clear, but it appears as they're related somehow. And people are stating that that is, in fact, Mr. Polite's uncle. So apparently Mr. Polite may not have lived as wholesomely as the pastor. What can you say, ladies and gentlemen? When are we going to get these people with mental health issues off the streets? Next on the docket, another foiled murder-for-hire plan. Rule of thumb, ladies and gentlemen, if someone comes to you with a murder-for-hire plan, somebody is calling the police. A sergeant in the United States Army and his brother have been charged with a failed murder-for-hire plot to kill 4 people, including 2 children. Sergeant Jeremiah Pikert was arrested in Texas on Thursday and is going to be extradited back to Connecticut, where he faces conspiracy charges for working with his brother, Joshua Pikert, to arrange a murder-for-hire scheme. Now, police allege that while incarcerated at a facility, Joshua asked his cellmate if he knew a hitman who could kill a 29-year-old woman, a 23-year-old man, a 10-year-old girl, and a 1-year-old girl back in 2022. The cellmate said he could find somebody to commit the murders, but it's going to cost you $10,000 per person, and I want a $500 finder's fee. Jeremiah allegedly deposited 2 payments of $100 and $150 into the cellmate account and spoke on the phone with him several times about the hit. The cellmate said to Jeremiah, "The good news is that the job is going to get done because the payment and the agreement went through. The bad news, it may take a little while to happen, maybe a week or 2. Now, the brothers had discussed the murder-for-hire plot using code words on the phone, such as construction job and material, according to the police. Anyway, Joshua allegedly gave a note to the cellmate that detailed where the victims could be found, where they slept, and where the hidden man could find a spare key to the residence. He signed the note with his full name and the word job at the bottom. Well, needless to say, the cellmate went to the police stating that he had no intention of harming anyone. He just wanted a few bucks. And of course, now he's going to be a key witness for the state and probably get a little time off himself. So he wrote a letter to the 29-year-old woman detailing the plot, which she took to the police department. Now, the affidavit for arrest warrants revealed that Jeremiah admitted that he made the payment and knew it was to hurt the 29-year-old woman, but said he did not know the children were involved. Well, there you go, bygones, right? No, it's at a minimum, you're still going to assault one woman, three. No, you got 4 counts, buddy. Anyway, the fact that Josh wanted the 29-year-old woman hurt is not a total surprise because Josh had displayed violence tendencies even growing up, Jeremiah said. He's very manipulative, especially with me, which played a role in him cooperating. Anyway, the brothers have been charged with conspiracy to commit murder and conspiracy to commit risk of injury to a child. So Jeremiah is being held on a $500,000 bond and has yet to be released from custody. He has not entered a plea, and his next court date is set for May 23rd. Joshua is being held on a $700,000 bond and has pled not guilty to the conspiracy charge. His next court date is set for May 30th. All right, the next story here. I'm not sure what to make of this. I mean, is it a mercy killing? Is it some way to get out of from debt? Or is it just a way to set up your retirement plan? So a husband is charged with second-degree murder after he allegedly killed his wife at a Missouri hospital while she was getting a new port put in for dialysis. Now, the Centerpoint Medical Center staff told detectives with the Independence Police Department that the woman was alert around 7:30 on Friday. But when they checked on her about an hour later, she was unconscious. They issued a code blue, and that was initiated, and she was taken to the intensive care unit. She had no pulse or brain activity. Now, there were some suspicious injuries, apparently people noticed. What kind of suspicious injuries? Redness around her neck and a fresh wound on her throat. Now, the staff then contacted the woman's husband, Ronnie Wiggs, about her condition, but he said, I just don't have a vehicle to get to the hospital right now. They called the victim's son, who said he would pick up the senior Mr. Wiggs, who's in his late 70s, and take them both to the hospital. While in the hospital room, Wiggs allegedly told the victim's son and the nurse that he had killed his wife. He said, I did it. I killed her. I choked her. Police then came and took him into custody. In an interview with the detectives following his arrest, he admitted to killing the victim by choking her and covering her mouth to prevent her from screaming. After killing her, he then left the hospital, he told the police. Anyway, Mr. Wiggs allegedly said he had previously tried to kill his wife on 2 previous occasions. The first time he started, but he just couldn't bring himself to carry through with the killings. His wife woke up and told him not to do that again. The second time, he didn't do it because his wife was connected to several monitors. Anyway, the defendant, Mr. Wiggs advised that he was depressed and killed his wife because he could not take care of her anymore, and he could not pay the medical bills that had been acquired through her medical treatment. Anyway, Mr. Wiggs has been charged with second-degree murder, and he is in jail on a $250,000 bond. Like I said, I mean, you can't go around killing people. You can't do it because you can't afford them. That's for sure, right? Anyway, I feel kind of bad for Mr. Wiggs in a small way. But one thing is sure is that Mr. Wiggs won't have to worry about bills from here on out. They're all going to be taken care of at taxpayers' expense. His retirement plan is covered. He's going to get 3 hot meals, a warm cot, and all his housing until the end of his days. I don't know, Mr. Wiggs. I'm not sure you're going to think it was worth it. Anyway, next on the docket, discipline in schools. So 2 weeks after this North Carolina high school student slapped and threatened a teacher in an incident that was obviously put on video and went viral. Guess what? That little punk has been indicted for kidnapping and assault on a government official. Now, the district attorney charged Aquavius Hickman, 17. He'll be charged as an adult. He's been indicted for the assault on a teacher at the same school in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Anyway, the prosecutors noted a grand jury was convened last Monday, comprised of members of the community, and the grand jury returned 2 bills of indictment against the defendant now in this case. That's right, Mr. Aquavius Hickman. Now, Hickman, as I said, will be charged as an adult, faces second-degree kidnapping charges for the April 15th incident in which a female teacher, by unlawfully confining and restraining her without her consent for the purpose of terrorizing her. The defendant was also indicted on the same bill for assault of a government official, that being a teacher, and finally communicating threats against the teacher. The prosecutor noted that Mr. Hickman told the teacher he was going to kill her and that the threat was made in a manner and under circumstances which would cause a reasonable person believe that the threat was likely to be carried out, and the person threatened believed it would in fact be carried out. Like I said, the video shows Mr. Hickman slapping the teacher twice amid a profanity-laden rant against the teacher. I want to know is, why aren't the parents being charged, right? Remember the Crumleys? Certainly this is not this kid's first rodeo with discipline. It's obviously reasonably foreseeable that this kid would disrespect the teachers in such a way. I demand that not only Mr. Aquavius Hickman be charged, but how about his parents as well? Obviously some horrible parenting going on here. And things have changed, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I know I'm a little older than Mr. Aquavius Hickman. But if I had even talked back to a teacher, let alone hit a teacher, one, I would have gotten expelled from school immediately and probably never got back into a school ever again. And I probably would have disappeared because my parents probably would have buried me in a hole in the backyard after they had taken care of the situations. Parents didn't play in my day, and I think that's a little bit of the reason why we have such ridiculousness going on in the schools today. People expect their students to be sent to a daycare, and it's not that. And if the children don't want to learn and they want to mouth off to the teacher, guess what? Kick them out. Don't get an education. That's a beautiful thing about a shovel. Anybody can hold it. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. Need to bring a little more discipline back to the schools, teach a little bit of the reading, writing, and arithmetic. Next, a love triangle. That's right. Don't you love a good love triangle, especially when somebody winds up dead? Are you starting to notice a common thread here, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, murder plots never work out. Somebody goes to the police, gets the best deal. Love triangles doesn't work out either. So a woman accused of kidnapping and then forcing a missing woman off of a cliff over 2 years ago has been indicted by an Alabama grand jury. Loretta Carr is charged with capital murder, because it includes the kidnapping, in connection with the death of Mary Isabel. Now, Carr's daughter, a woman by the name of Jessie Eden Kelly, has also been charged with the capital murder for Isabel's death. Now, the indictment alleges that Carr intentionally caused Isabel's death by forcing her off a cliff into the Little River Canyon after she had been kidnapped. Isabel had been reported missing to the police and the DeKalb County Sheriff's Office by her ex-husband. She was last seen back in November of 2021. Now, Isabel reportedly had family in Hartselle, Alabama, but was last known to live in DeKalb County. Anyway, back in June 28th of 2023, the sheriff said remains were found in the Little River Canyon National Park by a search team. The Alabama Department of Forensic Scientists Huntsville Laboratory identified the remains found at the canyon as Mary Elizabeth Isabel. Well, the chief investigator on the case said that one of the women cooperated and has led authorities to Isabel's remains. So somebody's not going to prison. Well, they're going to prison. Maybe just not for the rest of their life, and they're not going to get the death penalty. But the other one isn't. See, the threat of imminent incarceration tends to break the bonds of loyalty. I'm going to guess it's the daughter trying to save herself. We'll learn more in the future. Anyway, Miss Carr was arrested back in June of 2023. Miss Kelly was in custody in Pennsylvania. The capital murder charges stem from multiple other laws broken during the incident, including kidnapping, according to the police. Investigators also said they found physical evidence at Isabel's home leading to the arrests of Carr and Kelly, according to a criminal complaint filed in June of last year, where Carr was accused of kidnapping Mary Isabel in October of 2021. The arraignment for both has been set for May 8th. The state is going to seek the death penalty against Miss Carr. Yep, daughter's the one that rolled on her. Always does. Don't doubt me, ladies and gentlemen. Don't doubt me. Please, I swear. It's just human nature. It's human nature. The threat of imminent incarceration tends to break the bonds of loyalty. People start thinking, well, I helped out, but I didn't know that somebody was going to die. I don't want to go to prison for the rest of my life. It was all her fault. She should be. Why isn't she saying that I didn't have anything to do with it? So then they roll. Next, our dumb criminal of the day. Everyone hates police until they need one. And in this case, the dumb criminal of the day needed one. So back in April, an officer was sitting at a stoplight on Coconut Creek Parkway, somewhere in Florida, when a man came running up to the police officer demanding help. The officer quickly determined the man was running away from a resident after the resident found the man that ran up to the police car trying to break into his home. The officer identified the suspect as Terry Jennings of Pompano Beach, Florida. Anyway, they searched him and found several items in his pockets that he just could not explain how they got there. And the items turned out to be stolen from a car left unlocked in the area as well. And then another resident came forward explaining that she had picked up Jennings on one of her surveillance cameras trying to get into her car, but it was locked. Officers charged Mr. Jennings with car burglary and attempted car burglary, and he was taken to the jail. Now, this reminds me of the Florida sheriff that tells citizens to shoot home invaders to save taxpayers money.
If somebody's breaking in your house, you're more than welcome to shoot them in Santa Rosa County. We prefer that you do, actually. So whoever that was, you're not in trouble. Come see us. We have a gun safety class we put on every other Saturday, and if you take that, you'll shoot a lot better, and hopefully you'll save the taxpayers money. So with that, questions?
Remember, Sheriff Bob Johnson emphasized that if someone is breaking into your house, not your personal property like your car, your house, the good sheriff says you're more than welcome to shoot somebody. In fact, the sheriff's department actually prefers that you do that because under the Florida Stand Your Ground law, it permits residents to defend themselves without retreating. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for you today. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time. And remember, the Constitution matters.